What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Streckbine, joined always by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, well, their bye week, it didn't go as they wanted to, didn't go as planned, but that's okay. Plenty of optimism moving forward. We'll dive into the outcomes of the rest of the AFC North throughout the weekend, on top of a new and very, very, very surprising offensive coordinator candidate for the Pittsburgh Steelers after Matt Canada, and a potential trade as the deadline approaches for Pittsburgh. It is I don't know. I don't even want to say it's a gloomy day, because this is just a regular day now in the city of Pittsburgh as we fully immerse ourselves in fall. How you feeling, my friend?
Feel good. Feel refreshed after the bye week. Yeah, it's not gloomy, but this is just the reality. This is just, when it gets cold in Pittsburgh, it gets gray as well.
Yes. It never stops. I went outside to take my garbage out last night at like 9:00, and I had to come back inside. I was like, I can't go out there in shorts. It's like 25 degrees outside. It's ridiculous. It never stops. It's only going to get worse. That's okay, because, it's part of football season. I will say that my fiance yesterday dropped I can't wait for the holidays comment, and I was like, will you stop already? Like, you wanted fall's here, nobody wanted fall, now you're asking for winter. It's gotta,
yeah, let's not bury ourselves just yet. We've got a long way to go before actual winter gets here.
There's just no need for cold for the next 6 months. Nobody likes it, nobody enjoys it. Christmas is cool. No, I'm not rushing it. I'm not even looking forward to it. All right, let's talk Pittsburgh Steelers. Bye week didn't really go as planned. They fell out of the top spot in the AFC North. The Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, and Cleveland Browns all won. Baltimore started the day in London. It was a close game, but it really wasn't a close game. 24-16 over the Tennessee Titans. The Cleveland Browns upset the San Francisco 49ers 19-17 without Deshaun Watson on the field. Very, very surprising. And then the Cincinnati Bengals win their third game of the season 17-13 over the Seattle Seahawks. Pittsburgh currently sits second place in the AFC North. Bad weekend. I don't know. Did you have higher expectations? I went into the bye week with my mindset being, well, the Pittsburgh Steelers are in first place in the AFC North. That's cool, but everybody else plays a game this weekend. Once everybody started winning, everybody on social media was like, oh my gosh, this is as bad as it gets for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I feel like they're maybe still in a good spot. Did you have expectations for this weekend?
I didn't expect the Browns to beat the 49ers, but, other than that, I feel like it all kind of played out how you would have expected it to. Baltimore's definitely better than Tennessee. I think Cincinnati's better than Seattle, so I expected those wins. But, I don't think you're in an awful place, because, I don't think Deshaun Watson's status for the future is very much in question. I don't think the Bengals really showed you anything particularly impressive, and then the Ravens kind of beat up on a pretty bad Titans team. So, it stinks that you are playing from behind a little bit more now that everyone picked up a win while you were idle. But I don't think, in terms of the actual football of it, anyone showed you anything that you think is, particularly terrifying. If like the Browns had lit up the 49ers, then you might have been scared. If the Bengals, lit up the Seahawks and it looked like Joe Burrow was really returning to form, I think then you would be really concerned. But I don't think that really happened, and I don't think you're in a worse spot, but I don't think you're in a bad spot if you're the Steelers coming out of the bye week.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, I get the expectation of, well, it was nice. It would have been nice to come back from the bye week, still be in first place in the AFC North, but there's a difference between a win and a concerning win. And I don't think any of those teams showed concern. Like, cool, PJ Walker led the Browns to a win over the 49ers. But the 49ers miss a field goal at the end of that game, and if they don't miss the field goal, they win that game.
They missed two.
Exactly. Yeah. So they win that game. Baltimore fully expected them to beat the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are not good. And then Cincinnati only putting up 17 points. That's not – there was nothing over the weekend that went, oh, man, the Steelers' life just got much more difficult. Like, it was already difficult. The thing is if they go and they beat the Los Angeles Rams, they'll, I believe, move back into first place in the AFC North. The Ravens will be 5-2. The Steelers will be 4-2, but I believe maybe the Ravens would still have
Yeah.
half a game lead in the division. Either way, you're still controlling your fate. Like you're in the driver's seat of the AFC North race. The Ravens have to go on a bye week at some point. You're going to have the opportunity to surpass them. You play all of these teams again in Cincinnati twice. I mean, I'm not. I think a lot of people were nervous. Were kind of making big assumptions. I just looked at it and went, yeah, like it is what it is. You didn't play football this weekend. You didn't have an opportunity to keep a hold of the AFC North and to come out of here in second place. I mean, it's pretty good, but the AFC North, I mean, as a whole, definitely getting tighter, definitely getting more competitive, and something that I think as we move forward, the Steelers, that they're going to have to keep winning to hold on to a chance to pull this one out.
Yeah, and they still have a 2-0 record in the division. Like
Yeah.
they own a tiebreaker over two teams right now. So I think that's something that you can also hang your hat on. Like it's not, for as much as these guys have moved up in the division, I still think it's going to come down to those tiebreakers. So notching 2 wins early on has been huge. And I think the one thing that I'm still like, I don't know what's wrong with the Bengals. Like I
No.
still kind of have no idea what's going on with them. And that was kind of your biggest concern, even coming out of that Ravens game, you thought, yeah, like you've got 2 games in hand, but you assume you're at least going to lose one of the Bengals, if not both of those games, because they're a more talented roster, and then anything can happen in those last 2 games against the Browns and the Ravens. But I'm not. I'm comfortable saying I'm not really scared of Cincinnati anymore. Like I don't think they've, like, even if they keep winning, they have not proven that they are the caliber of team that will obviously blow out the Steelers, even if, even if it's an AFC North game that doesn't stay close. Like, I don't know. They just don't really seem to have the firepower that they used to anymore. At least that firepower is just not clicking in the same way that it had.
Yeah, I agree. Like they're not a team that it could be a shootout, cool, but the shootout's going to be a defensive shootout. It's going to be 24-21. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers have the team to beat those or to win those games. Whereas in last year, it was like, if you don't score 30 points, you're not beating the Cincinnati Bengals. And if that's not the case, like you could beat a team if you're Pittsburgh 17-14. You have the capabilities, you have the talent to do so. So I agree. Cincy doesn't really scare me. Cleveland doesn't scare me at all, especially because cool, whatever, but that just happens. PJ Walker walks in there, the defense is all fired up because they realize they got to win this game. Brock Purdy has an average game, and I'm pretty sure San Francisco had like 100 yards going into the fourth quarter of total offense. Like that's how bad they were. And then Christian McCaffrey goes down. So I just feel like, yeah, good game, good win. You can't disqualify a win. Those things, flukes happen. Those moments happen. And then Baltimore is Baltimore. I think they're the biggest threat for the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward, but you already have a 1-game advantage over them. You're in a good place. I wouldn't panic if I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan about coming back from the bye week and being in second place in the AFC North. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Steelers on a bye, on a break, away from the team. Matt Canada is not going anywhere. That's what rumors and reports and everything are saying. That's our expectations here. But everybody's asking about it. Jerry Dulac in his weekly chat for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette was asked who is a possible candidate to replace Matt Canada if he is no longer the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers after this season. Dulac acknowledged, I would not commit right now to Matt Canada not being there for however long you want him to not be there for, or when you want him to not be there any longer. But he did name a name. He dropped a name. Jon Gruden, friend, former coach, head coach to Mike Tomlin's defensive back coach in Tampa Bay as a possible replacement for Matt Canada. The last time Jon Gruden was an offensive coordinator in the NFL, and we all know Jon Gruden currently not in the NFL. Very alarming stuff, all that whole story. That's a whole other side conversation. Last time Jon Gruden was an OC in the NFL, 1997 for the Philadelphia Eagles. That team averaged 22 points per game. The Pittsburgh Steelers currently this season, 15.8 points per game. So if you're sitting around thinking Jon Gruden is a defensive coach and why would he be an offensive coordinator? Well, he proved to be maybe a little bit better than Matt Canada is currently. Your thoughts when you heard Jon Gruden, possible replacement, Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator next season?
Yeah, this just seems like the wrong direction. I think if you're going to make an offensive coordinator change, it shouldn't be someone older, someone who, like you said, was last an offensive coordinator in the 1990s. I think if you're hiring a new offensive coordinator, it's got to be someone young, someone who is forward thinking, someone who can kind of keep up with how the NFL is changing, especially considering the fact that most of your offensive roster is really young, and it's going to be a unit that you have to build around for a while. I don't think you can look backwards with this hire. That's what I feel like hiring Jon Gruden would be. And that's purely from a football perspective. That's, like you said, ignoring all of the other extra baggage that Jon Gruden would bring with him to Pittsburgh. But yeah, there's good experience there. I think but I don't know if it's the kind of experience you want. And I think you have the world at your fingertips if you were the Pittsburgh Steelers looking for a new offensive coordinator. I don't know why you would limit yourself to someone like Jon Gruden, to, again, just someone who's I think the better parts of his career are behind him, quite honestly, as a coach. So it would be a weird hire in my opinion.
Yeah, it would be pretty spot on for Mike Tomlin. Like, it would be as Mike Tomlin of a move as Mike Tomlin moves come. I agree with that one, but I agree. Like, I don't think there's anybody out there. I don't think there's a single Pittsburgh Steelers fan or analyst or anybody who's sitting around going, "You want to know who the Pittsburgh Steelers should hire? Jon Gruden." That should be. Why is nobody calling Jon Gruden? Why have we not talked about Jon Gruden? No, the conversation has been the same the entire time. Go out, get somebody young, call Kyle Shanahan and say, "Hey, buddy, who's left on this coaching staff? Who needs an offensive coordinator job that you would recommend? I'm about to hire him." Call Philadelphia, get whoever's operating their offensive line and or run game over there, get them to Pittsburgh. There's a million people that you could call that are younger, that are quarterback coaches in this league, that are running game coordinators in this league that you could just test out. Like, I get it. You tried to do that with Matt Canada, but you didn't do it the right way. Like, you brought Matt Canada on as a quarterback's coach. He didn't prove anything as a quarterback's coach. And then the next year you were like, you want to know what? This guy's an offensive coordinator. Let's get him over here. Let's promote him today. No, go get somebody who's proven. Go get somebody who works with a genius offensive staff right now, or a head coach or a coordinator already, who has just been molded and groomed into creating a great offense. Go get him. I think that's what everybody is talking about right now. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is sitting around going, "Man, that Mike Tomlin, Jon Gruden coaching staff would be incredible." Meanwhile, just to add some context here, Warren Sapp, former player for both of these guys, he couldn't handle it on Jason Whitlock's show. Who, I gotta say, I don't watch Jason Whitlock's show, but I saw the clip floating around out there. He was asked about the situation, and his quote is, "I can't even tell you what Jon said," and then he just said, "Come on, not even close," which I would assume is a no. He's not going to take the job. I mean, I feel like if I'm Jon Gruden, I'm taking that job. Like, if I'm offered an offensive coordinator job in Pittsburgh to go work with Mike Tomlin, I don't know a better opportunity that's going to come my way at this stage in my NFL career. If it's reversed and I'm Jon and I'm Jon's agent, yeah, I'm coming to Pittsburgh. No question. If I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm not calling Jon Gruden, because there's just no point in calling Jon Gruden.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what point Jon is at in his career. I think he's like consulting with the Saints right now or something like that.
Is he?
I think so. Let me. I think this is. Yeah, he's. His Wikipedia says that he is consulting with the Saints right now.
That's good enough.
But yeah. So like, this would obviously be a huge upgrade for him, especially at this point in his career, like you point out.
That's what I'm saying.
But like, yeah, if I'm from the Steelers, I just don't get why that would be your guy. Maybe he's a candidate, maybe someone you consider. I don't know. You bring him in for an interview or whatever. But like you said, like, there are a million, young assistants working with good offensive teams right now that have, and like I said, you don't just need to take a chance on guys. Like, there are enough guys out there that you can properly vet a pretty good candidate, and you can bring in a bunch of guys who are looking for their next big opportunity, and you will like kind of have your pick of the litter, like you will be able to really find someone who's able to mold this offense in the image that you want, can develop a relationship with Kenny and George and Najee and the rest of the young players on this team, and build something like long term, like I think I just think you you're not looking very far down the road. Like Jon Gruden seems like a band-aid to a big issue that you have, and you have a chance to, by hiring someone younger and thinking a little bit further down the road, to repair the issues with these offense and build something sustainable. So like I think Jon Gruden sticks you in the mud, like it doesn't move you forward at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You're staying where you are. You're maybe going low risk. Maybe that's the situation you're looking for, is a low risk, but I think low risk, low reward. Like there's no spark there. There's no nothing. You're going to get back to old Pittsburgh Steelers football. But if I had to make a guess, like if I was predicting this, Jerry Dulac always knows something. I always trust Jerry when he says something. This adds up to me. Like this is a move that if the offseason came and somebody said, hey, who do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers would hire as an offensive coordinator? And the name Jon Gruden was floating around out there, because before today, I would have never thought about that name. It would have never crossed my mind. I would have started coming up with quarterback coaches and running back coaches and all these stuff around the NFL, would have totally ignored Jon Gruden. If you told me, if the name Jon Gruden was floating around there and somebody asked me, hey, who do you believe the next offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers would be? I would say there's probably a pretty good shot it's Jon Gruden, because that adds up, man. That's just, Mike Tomlin is not a guy who takes risks. He's not a guy who makes splash. He doesn't do anything. He sits right here, and he's won a Super Bowl, so he's allowed to sit right here, I guess. But he's not. I don't see him going up from here. Like I just see him. This is the line that we stay on. This is the line we roll with. It has worked. It will continue to work. We're not going to go. And I don't think Jon Gruden raises the bar. You know what I mean? Jon Gruden allows Mike Tomlin to stay who Mike Tomlin is. He allows the Pittsburgh Steelers to be who the Pittsburgh Steelers are. And no doubt he's going to come in there and he's going to run the football. Like that's who the Pittsburgh Steelers want. That's what they want to happen. They want to be a running football team. Jon Gruden is a ground and pound old school head coach. That's just what it works out. Although 97, I guess that wouldn't be McNabb. McNabb's after that. I was going to say that's the McNabb. I don't even know who would be there beforehand, because that's before Peyton Manning. That's old.
Yeah, it's real old school. And I like what you said about low risk. I think that's probably what they would be aiming for if this is.
Yes.
But this isn't even like I think Bill O'Brien getting hired by the Patriots, that seemed like low risk to me.
Yes.
But that's at least a little bit, like at least Bill O'Brien had, had a little bit more relevant experience in this decade, like it was. Jon Gruden just is low risk, and I think none of the upside that you could hope for. Like, I don't know, if you're looking for someone safe, I feel like there are options out there too that aren't just so, I don't know, so far removed from this era of NFL offense. I just think if you're looking to change this team's identity at all, if you're looking to make some progress and move forward, which is I feel like what they should be doing, this makes sense in a personality sense, like you said, for the Steelers and for Mike Tomlin. But from a football perspective, I just don't get it at all.
No, me neither. I'm going to toss out two names right now that I believe, and I'll do a deeper dive on this later in the week, probably tomorrow. Antoine Randall, okay, and Mike Kafka, quarterbacks coach for the Giants. Antoine Randall, wide receivers coach for the Lions. If either of them are getting jobs, then wow. Quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, shout out to Nick. Ty Detmer. Don't even know who that is. No idea who this is, but they scored more points than the Pittsburgh Steelers have this season, so
credit to him.
Good for them. Antoine Randall and Mike Kafka would be two candidates that I think are somewhat realistic for the Pittsburgh Steelers that they should go get. Not Jon Gruden. Don't believe Jon Gruden is one of them. Antoine Randall makes a lot of sense. Bring him back to Pittsburgh. That's a guy that worked with Mike Tomlin. I don't know if he played for Mike Tomlin, but he played for Bill Cowher, won a Super Bowl here, is doing good things over there. Might as well.
Yeah, shoot, the Lions look really good, and I don't think they have really overwhelming talent. Like Jared Goff was like former number 1 overall pick, but I don't think anyone looks at him like, oh yeah, you can throw anyone in. He can make any scheme work. He's that talented. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown is good, but
Good.
they've made a bunch of like Josh Reynolds and not Josh
Yeah.
Reynolds, but they have a bunch of receivers, and they've made pass catchers work in that offense that I don't think they've done a lot with not a whole lot there in Detroit.
That's what I'm saying. Jameson Williams shows up and in 4 plays he's in the end zone.
Yeah.
So that he knows what he's doing. He's developing good guys. That would be a name. I'll dive deeper into those throughout the week as I do a little bit more. But just off the top of my head, as I'm looking through coaches, those are 2 that certainly stand out to me. What's up, guys? I have super exciting news to share with you. We have merchandise from t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and hoodies, and plenty of designs from Pickens to Pickett, Muth, Bleed Black and Gold, and of course, all of your All Steelers talk gear, all available at blackandgoldapparel.myspreadshop.com or on the store tab at our YouTube page. We cannot thank you guys enough. We would not be here without each and every one of you, and it feels awesome to be able to represent the AST brand and to spread that representation out to all of Steelers Nation. We know that you guys and us, we are one, and this has been one hell of a ride. Again, we cannot thank you guys enough. Check out everything at blackandgoldapparel.myspreadshop.com or on the YouTube page, or the store tab, on our YouTube page to get all your AST gear and whatever t-shirts, sweatshirts, shorts, nuddies, coffee mugs that you're thinking. Again, thank you guys. The NFL trade deadline, 2 weeks away. 2 weeks away. It's week 7, so 2 weeks today. Last year, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they made some moves. They went out, got William Jackson III at the deadline. They traded Chase Claypool at the deadline. Shout out to the Chicago Bears and the Miami Dolphins. This year, everybody's going to be speculating again. Omar Khan's going to want to make some moves. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a winning team, and if they win this weekend, I think there's a real shot that they evaluate, hey, what do we need to do to take that next step to kind of secure ourselves as a playoff team in the second half of the season. Mark Caboli of The Athletic was asked who is the top candidate for the Pittsburgh Steelers to be traded at the deadline. His answer, third-string quarterback Mason Rudolph. This is year 15 in a row, I believe, that Mason Rudolph has been named the top candidate for the Pittsburgh Steelers to be traded at the deadline. Your thoughts? You think that's a realistic thing at this point? Does Mason even hold any trade value this deep in his NFL career and this long without playing a game, or are we just picking a guy and running with it because there's nobody else to trade?
I think it's a little bit more of the latter. I think it's more that there aren't super appealing. I shouldn't say that. It's not that there aren't super appealing players on the Steelers roster, but none that I think the team is really willing to part with at this point. I think Mason is probably the most likely to get traded on a team of not very likely guys to get traded at all. And I think you're also kind of working under the assumption that teams are going to need quarterbacks at some point.
Yes.
And any team that does need a quarterback at this point in the year is going to be really desperate for one. So yeah, that kind of makes sense when it pops into my head. Just that Mason would be, but that also might be because we've been talking about Mason maybe getting traded for the past, however many millions of years.
That's what I'm saying.
And I think, I don't know. Honestly, I think the longer that Mason sits on the bench, the more that his value kind of goes up, quite honestly, the less that you see him play, quite honestly. I think,
really? You think it goes up?
Well, yeah, I think you can kind of talk yourself into, oh, this guy's been around NFL teams before, he has some experience in that sense. He hasn't put a whole lot on film, he hasn't had to, really step into the fire as a starting quarterback very recently. So I think what we see about in Mason and what we see at practice or training camp and things like that, other people just don't see that, every day.
Yeah.
So I think they can sell themselves more on the potential than what people like us who are kind of a little bit closer to the matter can see every day.
Yeah, I my mindset was the other way around. The longer he sits around, the longer people are gonna be like, how long until this guy's out of the league? But maybe you're right. You know what I mean? Maybe not even as a starter, but just a guy that you're like, okay, the Cleveland Browns are a bad example, but a good example at the same time. They're not going to trade for Mason Rudolph, but they needed a quarterback. DTR wasn't getting it done as a rookie. They said, all right, let's call PJ Walker. Let's get PJ Walker out there. He's going to get a helmet. He's going to start. I think there are other teams. I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars possibly just lost their quarterback last night. Maybe that's an example. I do agree. Like a team that's going to be searching for that QB3 right now or that backup. Mason's a guy that you're not gonna give up a lot, but he could come in here. He's a professional. Everybody loves Mason Rudolph. Nobody in the locker room dislikes Mason Rudolph. The coaching staff loves Mason Rudolph. Everybody talks about how good of a guy Mason Rudolph, how good of a team he is, how smart he is working as a backup. I think that does make a lot of sense. I mean, after a couple of years, you know what I mean? I just feel like at this point we've talked Mason Rudolph dry. Yeah. Like it's to a point where last year it was supposed to be the Detroit Lions. They didn't make a move for him. Maybe it's this year. Maybe this is the year that they're like, all right, we need a guy. I don't even know who Detroit's backups are, but last year it was like something Boyd or something. Tim Boyle. I don't even know. And they were looking for a backup quarterback. There's got to be a team out there. I think it does make sense. What are you giving up for Mason Rudolph? Your team that needs a backup quarterback. What are you calling the Pittsburgh Steelers for? You got to remember that, you know, Omar Khan is involved, and that guy makes some moves. You know, that guy, he does some things that should. Chase Claypool played 11 games for the 32nd pick in the draft. 11 games and did nothing in those 11 games. William Jackson came here for about 13 cents and a bag of Skittles. And I don't even think the Pittsburgh Steelers had to give anything up for him. I think the conditional 6th-round pick turned into a 7th-round pick in like 3 years.
Yep.
And they didn't get to play him, but they gave up nothing for him. So you got to remember Omar Khan's in this. What are you giving up for Mason Rudolph? Or what are you getting for Mason Rudolph?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'm offering anything higher than a 6th-round pick or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, depending on how desperate you are, maybe you work your way up to a 5th, but, like, that'd be quite a bit. Like, I think a 6 is about where you're sitting at. It's got to be draft picks. I don't think you're swapping players for a guy like Mason Rudolph. So that is 6th, 7th. You're not, and it's not multiple picks. No, it's one pick straight up for Mason. I think is the only thing that I'm kind of considering.
Yeah. I 6th would be good. Maybe a 5th, depending on the team. Let me toss this out there, okay? Justin Fields goes down. Hand injury. Could miss some time. And don't get me wrong, Nathan Peterman, a dude as a backup. You know, all respect to Nathan Peterman.
He didn't even.
That guy's
Fields went down. Yeah, he what was it? Baggett?
Tyson Baggett.
Yeah, we saw him at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, we did, and he did not look good at the Senior Bowl. Looked actually terrible at the Senior Bowl. But that's their backup right now. And Nathan Peterman, I mean, again, good guy. I respect anybody who's been cut and added as many times as he has this season on one team. Yeah. I hope he has not. I hope he stayed in his apartment. Like at this point, he's got to just be like, well, I'm coming back tomorrow. Right. So whatever. Possibly need a backup quarterback. Possibly need a starting quarterback with Justin Fields going down. I'm taking Mason Rudolph before I take Tyson Baggett, whatever his name is. The Las Vegas Raiders, Jimmy G gets put into an ambulance yesterday, taken to the hospital because of a back injury. No idea how much time he's going to miss, according to, I don't know. I saw Dov Kleiman tweet it out, so I don't know where he got it from. He could be missing at least a game. Brian Hoare is their backup. Maybe they make a phone call. That's certainly an option.
The Colts, Gardner Minshew, I think, threw 3 picks as a backup for the Colts yesterday.
The Colts, that's a great one, actually. You definitely got names. You know what I'm saying? Like you have options. I mean, but let's be honest. The New England Patriots, they'd take anybody you could give them. At this point, they don't have a starter or a backup, and they're probably going to use Malik Willis as Malik Cunningham as a quarterback when he's clearly not a quarterback in the NFL. That's where they're at. So maybe that's an option. There are teams. I think like a year ago, we were like, oh, who needs a backup quarterback? It's the Detroit Lions. This year, it's like, there's like 4 or 5 teams that are in a tough spot and could be getting worse. Again, the Jacksonville Jaguars, we don't know what's going to happen with Trevor Lawrence. I think there's definitely better options than a year ago. Maybe. You think? Do you think that there's any chance that a team like Chicago, a team like Vegas, a team like Indy calls and they say something like, hey, look, at Mason's cool, but we're not really looking for a backup. We're looking for somebody to come in here, compete to see if they could start. Would you consider trading Mitch Trubisky? Do you think that that's a possibility? Do you think that the Pittsburgh Steelers would show any interest in that possibility?
Well, I think you'd have to if someone comes calling, because if someone's looking for Mitch, like I said, they're a lot more desperate for a quarterback than someone who's calling for Mason Rudolph. So you could get a pretty decent haul, I think, for Mitch Trubisky. Honestly, like that. I don't know if a team's calling him about you, like they're clearly looking for a starting caliber guy, and that commands a much higher price. And I think you could work your way up into like 4th or 3rd round draft pick territory, maybe even a little bit more. And maybe not a second, but I mean, if Chase Claypool went for a second, like,
yeah, but I think Chase still had like the
shine.
There's potential here. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like this guy's 6'3" and he runs a 4.32. Yeah, cool, that's fine, but he can't catch a football, so who cares? But I think a 3rd, 4th round pick from Mitch could definitely work depending on the team. And I mean, I don't see why not. You know what I mean? I don't see why you wouldn't consider that move if somebody came calling, and maybe somebody does come. I mean, Indianapolis is not a bad team right now. They just don't have a quarterback, and Anthony Richardson might miss the entire season because of the shoulder injury. Why not Mitch? Mitch
can hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss 50 times a game. Like, I think he's certainly capable of doing that. That's
what I'm saying. Run the football a little bit. You're good there. I think that's an option. I certainly think that's an option. I think dealing a quarterback makes a lot of sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's made a lot of sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And at this point, like, you're not holding on to a quarterback because you're like, oh, well, Kenny's got to develop. No, Kenny is who we're hoping Kenny turns into something better, but Mitch Trubisky hanging around is not going to, it clearly is not helping the situation. I don't think it's going to make it any worse if he leaves. I feel like Kenny will be just fine either way. I think the more pressing issue is the offensive coordinator / himself. Yeah. So I don't think it's Mitch.
Yeah, I do think we kind of overplayed that a little bit. Like, during the offseason is how important Mitch Trubisky was to Kenny Pickett's development. Like, I think he certainly helps. I think he can be a good resource for Kenny, but he's not, the end all be all to Kenny's career.
No, not at all. So I think if a team calls and they say, hey, Omar, we're looking for a QB, toss both of them out there and say, hey, what you got for us? See what happens. And I think a move could be made. Do I expect one? I don't know. I'm not going to say no because Omar Khan's in the house and I didn't expect anything last year. And I sat there and I wrote like 4 stories in a row because everybody kept walking in the room and they're going, this guy's got next. This guy's got next. And I'm like, all right, sounds good. Keep them coming. So anything could happen. With that, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Find us anywhere you get your podcast, and make sure to check out all of our work at allsteelers.com and all of our pit coverage at InsideThePanthers.com. New merch dropped at blackandgoldapparel.com, so make sure you check that out. And as always, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.